right, so welcome back to our math for the week, and this week we are talking about measuring data or collecting data. And remember that data is collected information or facts. So on Sunday we talked about tally marks, which remember are the lines here. Okay, nope, too far, not working. Here, there we go. So remember that we have our marks and that this one equals 5 and all of the rest just equal 1. So we talked about how we had tally marks and lists. Okay, we also talked about line plots, which is just when we have an X over a number line like this that shows how many of something there is. So here we had how many people surveyed reporting having 2 siblings. So remember, you would just count how many it is in 2, okay, which was 5. So today we are talking about bar graphs. Now bar graphs, they use different lengths or heights to show data. So some of them can be horizontal, which is across, or vertical, which is up or down, but each bar represents an object, idea, or person. And the bar goes up or out to represent a number shown on a scale. And all bar graphs have titles. So this is what a bar graph looks like. So everything has a title. So to have a bar graph, you need to have a title. That's the number one important thing. You also then need bars, but those are normally the last thing that you draw on, okay? Because you need to have a scale, okay? And some of the scales can start at 1, some of them go up by 2, some of them go up by 3s, by 4s, by 5s. So you need to pay close attention to the scale because that will tell you what your answer is. And if you're not paying attention and you're just guessing that it's going to go up by 1 or 2, you could get it wrong. So pay attention to the scale. Okay, now you have 2 labels, and these are called the axis labels. And basically that just shows what you're measuring. So down below we have the animals that we've seen at the zoo, and here we have the number of animals that the kids have seen at the zoo. Okay, so this scale has a scale of 1, or this bar graph, sorry, it's a simple bar graph. And basically a simple one just uses a scale of 1. So here is our scale of 1, okay? And basically it's in equal numbers, so it just goes up. So each line is a number, if you see that, okay? So we have chocolate chip cookies. We know that 6 people liked them. For sugar cookies, 3 people liked them. Oatmeal cookies, 5 people liked them. And ginger snap cookies, 3 people liked them. So if you just follow the line across, you'll see how many people like what type of cookies, okay? Now in this one, this is called a scaled bar graph. And it's like the other one that we have, but this one, it goes up in 200s, okay? So each line or each row is 200. So in between, it's gonna be 100, then we have 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, okay? So again, we have our title, our labels on the side, our scale, ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Our scale, I did it again, oh, nightmare. Scale, there we go, and our other label. So that is what it is. So remember, bar graphs always have a title, always. They need to have a title, otherwise you don't know what you're looking at. What data are you organizing? What data are you showing us? So they need a title, okay? They also have labels, and they describe the information that you've looked into. So normally they are a number, okay, like you see here, and what you've asked, okay? So here we have t-shirt orders. So this is how many or what colors of t-shirts ordered. Before we had what animals you've seen at the zoo. So the labels are generally the information that you tried to gather, okay? So When we read a vertical bar graph, so this is vertical, it goes up and down, all you're doing is you're looking at the top. The top tells you the total. So you don't need to look like in the middle. You're going to go all the way to the top, okay? And for this one, remember, look at the scale. So it goes up in 2s. So you can see that if it's on the line, you know it's 6, 4. But if it's in between, you know that the number in between 12 and 14 is 13, okay? The number in between 10 and 12, is 11. So you're able to know that because you guys are really smart. So shouldn't be any problems. Okay, so just pay attention to the scale. Like I said, the scale is very important for your bar graphs. Okay, now when we have a horizontal bar graph, it shows the exact same information as the vertical bar graph. It's just in a different way. So here our scale is on the bottom, okay, and again it goes up by 2. So when we read this, again, we're just going to look down and look at the lines and where it ends, okay? So don't look in the middle, don't look at the start, you're looking at where the bar ends. So we have 8 hours practicing for Rachel, 14 hours practicing for Ian, 5 hours practicing for Zach, because remember, we're looking at it's in between 4 and 6, so obviously that's 5, and 9 hours for Stella because it's in between 8 and 10, okay? So here are the 2 different types of bar graphs. Now, it doesn't matter which one you decide to make. This one is vertical and this one is horizontal. So that's the only difference. Everything else is the exact same. They have the same title, they have the same information, they have the same scale, they're getting the same thing. So it's just a matter of what you prefer, okay? Maybe you are like me and you like vertical ones, or maybe you are different than me and you like horizontal ones. They have the exact same information, so it doesn't matter how you draw it, as long as you're drawing a bar graph. That's the most important part. So this is a practice one. If you would like to do it with me, you can, but you don't have to. You can just watch as we do it together. Okay, this is not part of your work for today. So if you do want to practice along with it, then you can do this in your home learning journal or just on a piece of paper. Or like I said, you can just sit back and relax and watch me do it, okay? So we're going to create a vertical bar graph. And remember, the first thing that we need is the title. So here's what we were looking at, our favorite one, topping pizzas. So that is going to be our title. Okay, up next, we need to have a scale. So we're going to look at the numbers we have here, and we have a pretty large scale. So the lowest number is 4, and the highest number is 14. Now, if I had more lines, okay, remember that the bottom, this one is always going to be 0. But if I had more lines, I would put it in 2s. But I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's easier to put it in 4s, and you guys know how to skip count in 4s. So that means that in between, we would have 2, 6, 10, 14, and 18. And remember, you can make the scale however you want, but make sure that you're skip counting, okay? Especially if you are not doing it in ones, you should try to skip count with your scale. That's why we learned skip counting this year. And remember, if you want to add more lines to it, so if you wanted to, you could make a line all the way across. Obviously, you would do it straight with a ruler, but then you wouldn't have so much thinking to do. So it's up to you, depending on the size, okay? So then we're going to add the survey choices. So here's our scale, okay? These are the survey choices, and remember, this is here in our list. So next up, we're going to do the labeling. So these are our toppings, and these are our number of orders. And then finally, the very last step is that we draw the bars. So cheese had 14, so remember, that's our inside line. Pepperoni had 10, so that's going to be in between 8 and 12. Okay, beef had 4, so we're just drawing it straight to the line. and sausage had 6, so that's another halfway, okay? And that is our bar graph. So we have number 1, our title, number 2, our scale, number 3, our toppings, number 4 and 5 are labels, and then number 6, we have all of our bars. So there are 6 steps for you to do on a bar graph, okay? So now we're going to create a horizontal bar graph. Remember, you can do it with me for practice, or you can just sit back and relax. So now we're looking at favorite breakfast food. So remember, first step, we put in our title. Now, because we're doing our scale, remember we're looking at these numbers, and we don't have very many lines, because remember, we always start at 0 here, okay? So we really just have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So that means that in order to get all of our numbers, we have to go as high as, well, 6, okay? So we're going 6, 12, 18, and 24. Okay, and then remember, if you wanted to do it differently, you can, but because we only have this many lines, we need to make sure that all of our numbers fit. And remember, we're skip counting, okay? So I can't put this one as 3 and then 6 and then 18. It has to be in skip counting, okay? Equal intervals. So equal amounts of spaces in between each numbers, right? So then we're going to add our survey choices, which goes along the other side, because remember, it's horizontal, so everything's gonna go this way. And then we label. That's the next step. So we have our number at the bottom, foods on the side, and then we draw our bar graph. Last step, step 6. So remember, cereal was 15. Okay, now this one's a little bit tricky, but remember, if we counted in 3s, that would be 3, that would be 9, that would be 15, and that would be 21. So eggs was 3, waffles was 9, French toast is 18, so that goes all the way to the line, and then pancakes was 12, and that is your horizontal bar graph. All right, here's your work for today. I'm going to give you some questions. You can just do them on a piece of paper. Please don't print this off, just write them down. So remember to write the date. It is June 16th today, unless you're doing this tomorrow, in which case it'll be June 17th. And you can just write bar graphs as your title. Okay, and you should know how to spell that. So question 1, I'll read it out for you, and then you just need to write the answer, okay? What subject did the fewest number of students choose as their favorite? So which one is the smallest? So pause the video and write your answer down. Right, number 2. How many more students chose history? So there's history. So here's our line. So it's in between, so probably 13. As their favorite, then chose science. So science is here, and science has 9. So you remember, you might have to do some subtracting to find out how many more students chose history than science. So that is number 2. So pause the video to answer that question. All right, number 3. How many students chose math and reading combined? So what does that mean? We have to add them together. Okay, number 4. How many students took the survey? So for this question, you're gonna add all of those numbers together. Okay, so pause the video and answer number 4. Number 5, okay, during which month did the cows produce the most amount of milk? So which one of those lines is the longest? Write the month. And number 6, what is the difference in the number of gallons the cows produce in August and October? So again, you're looking at August, remember, check the scale, and October. So you're looking at the difference between those two numbers. So difference means subtraction, remember? So pause the video, figure that out. And number 7, If the cows produced 10 more gallons during the month of July, so there's July, how many gallons would they have produced? So you need to add 10 to this number and write the answer down. So pause the video and go ahead and do that now. And number 8, how many gallons of milk did the cows produce over 4 months? So again, you're going to look at all of these numbers, add them together, and tell me the answer. So pause the video and figure that out. Okay, now you are going to make 2 bar graphs. You do not have to make them horizontal or vertical. It's up to you how you create your bar graphs. Remember, you need a title, okay? You need labels on the side. You need a scale, okay? And obviously, you need bars. So, using this information, you are going to make a bar graph. Now, you can do it vertical or horizontal. It's your choice, okay? But remember, you're going to draw it out like a graph just in your book, and you are going to make your bars, okay? Now, remember, your bars are just rectangles, just like that. You can space them out if you want. You can put them close together. It's up to you. I would space them out because it's easier. And make sure that you use a ruler when you are doing this, okay? So remember to count the tally marks so you are able to figure out your scale. So that is your next question, okay? And your last question is this one. So again, you are going to make a bar graph. You can do a vertical one or a horizontal one. It's your choice. Remember, they have the same information, but just remember you have a title. Oh, look, that might be a good title. You have your scale. You have your labels, okay? You remember you need your choices, and then you need your bars. So make sure that you draw this out, and that's it. That's all of your work for today. So the 2 hardest ones were just drawing your bar graphs, and once you're finished, please send that to me on Class Dojo. And I can't wait to see how well you guys have done with your bar graphs. My favorite kind of graph.